What do you remember of the director of this series?
This particular one, I'd forgotten all about him till I saw the end title. This is Richard Mervyn. His father was Bill Mervyn, who played in the film version of The Railway Children. He was the gentleman who was in the train all the time, whose attention they were trying to attract. And he was another great British character actor who was in virtually everything. And his son directed this particular story. I had forgotten all about him until I saw his name on the title sequence.
It certainly added a bit of dimension to
Well,
it.
it's a good job. I mean, I don't know what he went on to do. There's quite a lot of directors did cut their teeth on the Tomorrow People. I think I made this comment before. Ah, that's interesting. That's an old jaunting belt.
Do you think they
But
found one
we'd introduced the new jaunting belt in the previous story, so why have we gone back to the old jaunting belt?
Presumably they found one in a cupboard.
It's interesting, though, isn't it?
Jaunt, mate, jaunt!
Dear me.
I can't! I can't!
And that's a prod wound, is it, that thing on your shoulder there?
Hopefully, yes. Unless I've been kicked in the shoulder by the horse. I didn't like that, I must admit. I don't like being
I think you
around
found the whole
horses.
business of being acting a bit messier than you thought. I think PVC found that as well. You don't like being around horses?
No, they make me nervous, genuinely.
Oh, that's a dodgy one for an actor, isn't it? You might be in charge of the Light Brigade 2 or something, and you couldn't be in it.
Oh, I'd do it for my art.
Oh, would you?
I would do it for my art.
I think that was PVC's attitude as well. Nobly followed through.
Nobly.
I can't get over how good this is. I'm quite enjoying this for a change. Till I come on in my silly outfit. I mean, that's a great shot. Look at that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But not good
You're
for the actors.
getting a bit mucky there, aren't you?
Yes, that's what I mean. This whole thing wasn't
But that
really
really
my cup
does
of
look
tea.
like Tommy Cooper, doesn't
John,
it?
look at
Oh,
you,
it's
Nick.
dreadful.
What do you look like?
I look a twat, I freely admit it. And I'm struggling, obviously, very hard to look noble through the cosy, but it's not working, is it?
No.
I'm sure I must have had a screaming rows about this. I think, actually, come to think of it, I did have rows about this.
You must have.
And I think it was a plot from the producer to make me look ridiculous, whilst you look wonderful. I mean, call it paranoia if you like. But,
Yes, yeah.
I mean, he didn't actually say it, but I know that's what he was thinking.
Bearing in mind how mucky those costumes were getting,
Mine wasn't, you'll notice.
did they actually clean them up before you put them back on again, or?
Yes.
I seem to remember this was done on one day's location filming, am I right, or was it two?
You're right, actually.
Yeah.
Nick, you're right.
It's interesting, you can see the breath there, so it must have been quite cold.
It was, I remember, honest. In that water with the sand, it was cold.
But this is really good, this filming sequence. He seems to put a slight filter on it to give it a sort of yellowy, come-ready effect. More so, and it's a glass shot, actually, now I see. You've got the sand pit there, up to the top of to an inch or two of the top of the screen, and then the mountains on the top are painted on glass. So it was a glass shot.
Who enjoy exploiting more backward cultures.
The director has brought a very filmic look to it.
Yes, he has.
He's doing a lot of
Yep.
mixing up the shots, close-ups, long shots, etc.
Because we're still shot on... is this 35mm?
No, 16 mil.
Wouldn't be, would it now?
But in that, those sort of sequences, I don't think it matters. It only looks bloody awful when you're shooting it in a modern context. And it looks grainy, but it doesn't matter if it looks grainy on on another planet. But as I say, I think it's had a filter put on it to give it a yellow or red effect.
Stay away from planets that are members.
I hope Mike knows what he's doing.
No, it's good. We've got plot, we've got forethought, we've got a bit of tension. You've got lots of emotions going on here. It's really good.
Take them to the punishment cages.
Yeah. What's that he's handed over then?
It's a jaunting belt, as you say, but it's the old one. Oh, or is that a matter transporter? Is that
I think
why
you're
it's
right.
different?
No, I think it's a matter. No, the first thing was definitely a jaunting belt.
Oh, right.
But actually, I think you need the two together, don't you? Somebody will correct me there, but I
Yes,
think
you
you
do.
This is obviously got this from the kitchen of the Thames Canteen.
Oh, God.
It was soup of the day.
That's the soup that PVC made the day before.
Yes. Wait till there's some flies in my soup.
Which is there's some boys in my soup.
Well, yes. Pushing the boy through a tiny crack there.
very good.
And another one.
Yes, and putting the boot in.
Putting the boot in as well.
Yes. I like
Problem
the-
is they're
the-
very frightened down there. They keep putting the willies up each other.
Yeah, indeed. I think the incidental music budget was a bit low on this. It's just the odd note.
Slamna! Slamna!
Slamner? He's in the Slamner?
Yes.
All right.
There's some nice design concepts in this, though.
Well, I was just thinking the bars, that sort of floral bar is quite amusing. If you tried to get through that, you'd be skewered, wouldn't you?
Indeed. You would be in a bit of trouble.
What have you done? Have you just jaunted?
Yes.
Oh, that was a bit slow, wasn't it?
Oh.
Speak our language!
I'm no Gellin, haven't you guessed? Now hand over the bolt before I use this in whatever it is on you.
Blast the pistol! Be careful! In this confined space!
It is a fly's head, isn't it? There's no question.
No question of that.
They are the flies in the soup, in fact.
My friend.
It's quite nasty makeup, actually, because they've obviously... That's what their faces are supposed to look like.
Yeah, quite frightening.
And for a
Turn around and face the wall.
4:40 children's show,
Mm,
it's actually
quite frightening.
quite frightening, yes.
Yes, very slimy. Why did you need him to open the cell? Could you not have used your telekinetic powers to unlock them?
Indeed.
Yeah, you just didn't think of it, did you?
Just wasn't quick enough there.
No, not been a Tomorrow person long enough to realise your
Nope.
powers.
PVC hadn't given me the last piece of the jigsaw on that one before he
No,
left.
that's right.
He gave me a sweater.
Yes, some people would say that the last piece of the jigsaw was always missing.
Burn them down! Hurry, fools! Hurry!
Oh, you saw a bit of flesh there, look,
Yes.
behind the slime. Oh, look at that. That's very advanced.
Mm.
Is this something I'm working on? Yes, it is.
Oh, nasty little thing. Lucky they didn't hit you with it.
That's what I was thinking.
And we're back to these hideous costumes. Oh, there's Timus.
Hey, where did you spring from?
From the galactic trig, young man. I've only a short time to spare, but I feel I...
Similar outfit, rather less chains than previously.
The same curtain rail, though. Or
Yeah.
curtain wrapping,
Yes.
whatever it is.
Looks like
Nice
they're more
out-
spaced out.
Yes, that's right.
yes.
Nice outfit for Elizabeth there. Very trendy.
So you have met
You and I continue to look prats.
Indeed.
you here for? I was under the impression that I gave you permits to come here to carry out an archaeological survey.
I'll pull the other one, it's got bells on.
The other one? Pull. Bells on.
Glad that was out of shot.
Please show me which one to pull.
Forget it.
Mike means
That's
we all
quite-
know you
quite
engineered
cute.
our visit here so we'd meet the Kleptons. It was no accident.
Oh, they're the Kleptons. They steal everything,
Yes,
do they?
Elizabeth, you are right. Now, please, listen quickly. I have not much time. My absence will be noticed if I stay too long.
His abscess will be noticed, did you say?
Yes, he's got to go to the doctor's 2:30 appointment, of course.
Yes.
You know that some of us are dissatisfied with the way the Galactic Federation Council will devote a lot of energy to talking about a problem, but is always most reluctant.
That's obviously where PVC has gone, the galactic trig,
Why the Kleptons
only to return 35 years later in a CD guilty of murder.
Yes.
invading planets and using the local inhabitants as slave labor to help them strip the planet of its resources. Oh, the
What's
council
interesting,
will
actually, with this story is this is the first time you've actually done a talking head shot, if you see what I mean, when they're just sitting down and
Yep.
talking.
Camera's
that's,
moving, though. You see, the camera's moving. It's more interesting. And ending on this
trying to make
very
it
good shot here. Look, this beautiful profile here. Cost me about 10 quid, I
How
think,
long
that
have the
shot.
Kleptons been on Gallia?
He looks like he's sitting on the loo, doesn't he? Ah.
Oh, I see. They're going to speak our language now. Timus will sort it for us.
Now, Elizabeth, would you repeat your question?
How long have the Kleptons been on Gallia?
It was 2 summers ago when the star fell from the sky and the evil men stepped from it.
That is about 3.5 years in your time scale.
But he can speak English. We spent all this time trying to teach him and to learn Gallian ourselves.
Yes, it's a little gift I have.
Some men of the village went to greet them. My father was one. They never returned the Kleptons.
It's a wonderful gift to give to people, though, the ability to speak English, isn't it?
Took all the boys to work in their mine.
Well, why take the boys? That's what I can't understand. I mean, surely they'd get more work done with adult slaves.
What I can think
Careful how you answer that question.
Some of those seams and passages in the rock are so narrow.
Yeah, you
that
see, I was
only
right.
children could work.
Pushing them up a small crack, that's what
Pushing
it
them up
was.
small
Yes,
cracks, that's what it's all
I
about.
was right.
Affection for one's children is universal. And the Kleptons exploit this wherever they go.
Exploiting the children, you
The
see.
Aliens are not a cowardly
Yes.
people. They might rise up against the Kleptons even though they have only primitive weapons.
Yes.
the men would not be afraid to die.
Kleptomaniacs. Yeah.
One thing
Have you
prevents
taken anything for it?
Almost every galleon family has at least one child imprisoned in that mine. As well as being slaves, they are also hostages.
But why were the villagers afraid when they saw us? You think they'll be glad to see us if they thought we'd escaped from the mine?
No. I did not know you were going to the village. If we escape and the kleptons catch us, then they punish not just us, but also the child of anyone who helps us, who gives us food and shelter. The people of our village are not afraid of you, but of what the kleptons would do to their children if they helped you.
Nasty.
Well, what are the
Thunder and
Sorry, somebody at the door.
effects, yeah. Thunder and lightning effects.
Yes.
We've gone very quiet
By
because
Nick
this is actually
Young.
quite
Well, I'm
a good
fascinated
scene.
because,
it's
as I
very
say,
good.
I've never seen this episode, and it's just
It's a different quality
yeah,
entirely. It's wonderful.
quite different. I think after PVC was out the show, I thought I can't watch this anymore. You know, that's how I felt about it.
But obviously it got better when he left.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, apparently, yeah, but
You've changed your tune. You wanted a treasure hunt when you first came here.
Since then, I've been down in
Did
the
this?
mine.
Did you work with this director again?
I honestly can't remember. I don't know what happened to him. I mean, I would have said from his direction here, he should have gone on to bigger and better things. We did have some good directors. Dennis Kirkland was very good. He did a lot of Benny Hill shows.
Benny Hill shows, of course, yes.
But he was an excellent director. We also had some rubbish.
Yes.
What would you like us to do?
No names, no pack drill.
Did you ever find yourself in a position where you were effectively directing yourself?
Yes.
At times we had to do a lot of self-direct.
The ones with the most close-ups, I think, is the ones that we... No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we had some directors who were completely stuck. I mean, there was one who shall be nameless. It took about 20 minutes to try and work out a shot. He was trying to get Tim's balls in shot and some other piece of action. And we'd done it so many times. In the end, in frustration, I just said, look, if you shoot it from here, you da-da-da-da-da. Okay, and you get them off the hook, and they're very grateful for about 2 minutes, and then afterwards they think that's smart-ass bastard, I'm not going to...
Exactly.
So, you know, it's better just to be an
You
actor.
don't get thanks.
No, you don't get any thanks at all.
Lives in peace. Now I must go. My absence from the council.
But as I
will be
say, that was the mistake they made at Thames, the assumption that because it was a children's show, it didn't need a director of any great ability, and this is nonsense. It's so full of special effects. You know, you need somebody who's really clued up.
Very good, quite right.
Special effects did get better as the cameraman got more confident. But again, I was often suggesting ideas to them that would make special effects work better. The first series of Paul Bernard, who directed Doctor Who, so he came with quite a few ideas. But some of the others, because they'd never done it before, didn't have any ideas at all. And it's apparent. I mean, some of the special effects in certain episodes are very weak, and in others they're very good. That's nicely lit there. I mean, that makes it much more interesting. There's shadows from the... Get the feeling there's a grill there or
A
something.
lot of thought has gone into this.
Yeah, it's excellent.
This
Excellent.
storyline is
Yeah,
very good.
It is.
Did you ever feel that Thames saw this production as a bit of a chore sometimes? Because of the special effects, because of the amount of time it took up?
I think Thames' attitude then was, do you want it good or do you want it by Friday? And the answer was always by Friday. You know, everything was done to a budget. I don't think art came into it anywhere, really. I think the initial idea was competition for two things. One was Doctor Who, but the other was Blue Peter, which was a direct rival being transmitted at the same time. And that's why they made it to start with. And like a lot of programmes, it was a surprise to them. They didn't expect it to be as popular as it was.
Now that's a fair distance from the mine entrance. Will be one or two kleptons.
Nor do they expect to still be making money out of it 35 years later.
From the inside, not an attack from the outside.
God, I had a bad hair day there, haven't I?
Indeed, he's been blowing in the wind there a little bit.
Stunned, Mike.
Those suits, how, bearing in mind you're under studio lights and so forth, although they were supposed to be AE suits and environmentally controlled, obviously in real life they weren't. Were they actually very hot?
They weren't as
I remember
bad
them
as
being
well.
hot.
We had one suit in an earlier episode that was a cast-off from 2001 or something. That was made of rubber, and that was ghastly. That really was horrible. But these were made out of lightweight material, so they weren't too bad.
The
See, I've had my hair
You can
combed.
see we're
I've had my
glowing.
hair combed in that shot from the previous bit. A bit of bad continuity there.
What's he going to do with that probe? Oh, matron.
I can't remember, you know, all those years ago, but the studio was air-conditioned, wasn't it? It was. They have to turn it off, didn't they, when we were actually recording, because you could hear it, but I think it was air-conditioned
They did give
in
us
between.
a push
Yeah.
in between scenes, but the lights were at times unbearably hot.
Presumably because they're all in black, they would have been baking.
Yes,
those
probably.
suits.
I remember the bloke that played the Tin Man, what was he, Jedediah, the shape changer, he was sweating like a pig, because he was in a tin outfit. But he's one of those actors you could punish him as much as you like, and he wouldn't care. You know, he's a true professional.
We have a surprise. Let's keep it that way, okay? Everybody ready?
But it's interesting watching this, as I say, 'cause I've never seen it before, so I'm quite enjoying this.
What happens to this place if we don't come back?
The force field.
Well, that's
will remain in
nicely lit
operation
too,
for
isn't it?
thousands.
It's really nice light.
It's
Trouble
really-
with television lighting is because they shoot it with multiple cameras. We had a 4-camera crew, but some were as many as 6 in those days. You would flat light the whole thing. It's a shame Peter isn't still here because he'd tell you all about lighting because that's what he does. But you know, they'd light the thing flat so you could shoot it with 4 cameras simultaneously.
Correct.
Whereas on film, they'll light each sequence, each area. So that's why film is much more interesting because they take care to light it nicely. And what he's doing here, as you said earlier, Jason, is he is shooting this as if it's a film. And that's why it's got filmic quality, even though it's on video. And that's why it's more interesting. You've got pools of light and, you know, things seem to go in places, whereas flat TV lighting is pretty boring on the whole.
And again, coming back to the expense on this, I just noticed they'd changed the backdrop and made it a blue wash so that it was a nighttime one.
Yeah.
And it's only ever seen in one scene.
Yeah.
So they actually spent quite a bit of money just for that one scene.
Well, that's what made me comment on it, was that scene that made me comment, because it was also very prettily lit. There were highlights on it. Much more interesting than flat video lighting. But again, a low budget on the incidental music. But it works. I think those sort of weird noises.
It just adds a bit of tension.
Bit of
doesn't it?
spookiness. Yeah. I mean, Hitchcock it ain't, but it's pretty good.
Two guards out there. You take the one on the right, I'll take the one on the left.
She did my telepathic acting again with the gestures.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
No prompting.
No, but I did have to tell you which was right and which was left, because I thought you're probably too thick to know the difference. I think it would have been good if we could tighten up the jaunting cues. It would have, because it is a bit eggy when we appear and then we're static for a second, you know?
That always caused us problems, didn't it?
Yeah, well, it's down to the person who's queuing you to start
Yep.
work. And ultimately down to the director in the box, because he's telling the floor manager when to say, go. But there again, Jason, look, that's different lighting. We've seen that shot before.
Yes.
But it's much more interesting lighting. That looks a bit wooden.
Oh. That was a bit of chroma key, whatever that was going on there.
Oi!
Why is this bloke standing here doing nothing? Oh, I see, because you've frozen him.
Yep.
Right. This is the main man with the telephone cable out of his head, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Interesting, he's the only one you actually see with his face visor up, and presumably that because they only wanted to pay for one person to have colour makeup done.
Yeah, indeed.
Very smoothly so far.
Yeah, too smoothly for my liking.
And that's the pity, isn't it? That's the frustrating thing watching them back. The through thread is that just with that little bit of extra budget,
Yeah.
more effects, just a few
Well,
more effects,
yeah.
a few more touches would have just put the icing on the cake.
But it was either my salary or the extra money on the budget.
What is it?
Kleptons, and one of them's got a blaster pistol. Get under cover, Liz.
Oh, we've got a few
You've got
spots
pyros
here.
as well.
Yes.
Makes it interesting.
Kleptons.
Yeah, about 3 of them. Liz, get the key deeper into the mine.
About 3 of them. Terrifying.
Quick, Mike, before they reload.
It's the gunfight at the OK Corral.
It is, absolutely.
See, that's what I meant. A little bit of fighting, a bit of action going on there. It makes it interesting.
They're not quite so scrawny and pathetic now, are they?
No.
Now they're motivated.
It's also, I mean, we've obviously been looking at these stories over the last year with you, and you can see the difference in the techniques on special effects
Yeah.
in that time. And they're actually getting quite sophisticated by now.
Yeah. They did slip back in later episodes. Depends who's directing them, it really does.
But I should think in the very, very early Tomorrow People series, the mixing and the jaunting technique would have been very crude until they got it right.
Well, they got, they got very clever in the end, whereby you could have somebody walking behind two people who were jaunting at different times. It was complex and really only done for the benefit of another television technician who'd say, wow, that's clever.
Yes.
But it was clever that you could, because most of the time the other actors in the scene had to freeze while you disappeared, otherwise the effect would be spoiled.
Mike! Now you will
I've just got to get down that crack.
Yep.
And find...
Mike!
See, look, bit of fun. This is what I was saying.
Yeah.
Bit of action. And they also destroyed a costume. Look, I mean, the money was obviously flourishing.
Only 3 of you.
Yes, but don't go getting any ideas. You've seen what we can do.
I shall never understand the ways of the Galactic Federation people. Firstly, if we had won, you would not be alive now. And yet you
I can't remember what this actor looked like. I mean, as you say, well, obviously we would have seen him at rehearsals without his costume on. I just don't remember him at all.
No.
wait so long.
I mean, it's not the sort of picture you'd want to put in Spotlight, is it? The casting directory.
That we're different. And we're not exactly letting you go. Your ship is to be transferred by instant matter transporter to a planet called Styxus.
Yeah.
Your engines have been removed and your communications equipment destroyed.
Oh dear.
As far as I'm concerned, you and your men are going to spend the rest of eternity on Styxus. And a pretty bleak eternity it's going to be from now on.
One day, we will escape from this planet Styxus. And when we do, the vengeance of Klepton will sweep you away.
There you go.
That's as maybe.
That's for a sequel episode, 35 years hence.
Indeed.
Indeed.
I will be back
Return of the Styxus.
tomorrow, person.
Ah, politically correct, you see, I'm a tomorrow person.
Styxus is
That's quite interesting. It had a loading bay to take it up to
Yeah.
the ship.
I think actually it was a forklift truck. It really was.
You remember that?
Yeah,
bit?
it was a forklift truck.
and rain. They will have to forage for their food, and they won't find much, only moss and lichens clinging to the rocks.
And they'll get a pretty nasty shock when they open up their holds to look at their food supplies. Unfortunately, they had to leave most of their stocks behind in order to make room for their more...
You see, you can see the water is actually
What
not
more
very
essential
deep.
for
Going back to your question, Jason.
Did they put dye in it to make sure you couldn't see the bottom, or did it just get very murky very quickly?
They must have put dye in it because it wasn't in the studio for long,
No.
so it wouldn't have had time to go misty.
Oh, and by
And that's
the
quite a
way,
nice touch, bringing in the barbecue as well.
Yeah.
the Galactic Federation
I think that was to please. We'd sold it to Australia by then. I think it was demanded.
Geological survey on Gallia.
I've got to hand it to you, Thomas. This was a really great place to come for a holiday.
Doesn't somebody get pushed in the drink in a minute? Is it me?
It's you.
Butlin,
Yeah, I thought
head of the
so.
Galactic Federation.
Oh no, it's
Oh,
you.
it's me.
No, then it's me. Then it's me. There we
All
go.
right.
Yes.
I enjoyed that. I did enjoy
What, you
that.
enjoyed
I've
being
never
pushed in the
watched
pool?
That one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've
I-
never seen it either.
It was a definite quality jump.
Yep, certainly. Now, who was this actor who played these creatures? Guy Humphries? Dave? That's the boy, David Conti. No, don't recognise any of those actors' names. And these titles are a different colour from usual too. We don't
Yeah.
usually had pale green.
You see, we in saving PVC's wage,
Yeah.
they were able to buy a few more lights and a few more
Well, I think
costumes.
saving his wages, they'll be able to afford one more light.
Oh dear.
A very dim one at that. A Tok H lamp, in fact.